Hi, thanks. Uh, as you're all painfully aware, I'm J.B. Andersen. That's a joke. Um, we don't have a librarian here today, so I'm opening right up. We started Carl Rogers last week, and what we did is we went through his education and places he'd worked. New York, Chicago, Wisconsin, California. So he'd moved all the way from New York to California, had about half a dozen different jobs throughout his career. Today, we're going to talk about his final years, his retirement time. Uh, Took on international politics as a major issue and talked about it from a psychological point of view. Wanted to end political suppression, so all around the world, Eastern European countries for one, and others, and he would apply then his uh, philosophical, psychological outlook to that situation. Uh, he contended that social conflict is the major problem in national and state, states of the world, nation states. That's the major problem is social conflict. He worked in five geographic areas around the world during his final years. Belfast, Ireland was one. Here you can see uh, Northern Ireland is up here. That's a Protestant area. The Republic of Ireland down here is a Catholic area. Northern Ireland is uh, wealthier, and Southern Ireland here, or the Republic of Ireland, is uh, a more poor area. So there's conflicts here between Catholics and Protestants. In the north, associated with England, a Protestant country, and in the south, largely Catholic. A lot of people don't like to look at it in this religious format, Catholic versus Protestant. They say it's really rich versus poor. Rogers also worked in South Africa. It's at the very tip of the African continent, shown here. Here's the Indian Ocean. And there he dealt with concepts of racism and white supremacy as when Europeans moved in and colonized this area called South Africa, blacks were placed in very poor conditions, housing, jobs, etc., working for low wages. He's also took an interest in Brazil. It had had an upper class dictatorship. I think most of them probably are, but this was an upper class dictatorship. It had had it for many, many years, many decades. And slowly there was a movement toward democracy there. So he felt he could maybe be of aid in that advancement. The Soviet Union, pictured here, included all at the time of his life. It included these Eastern European countries like Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania, Ukraine, famous today after having gained its independence, and now there's a big war. Here is Russia itself and Kazakhstan here. So he got interested in the Soviet Union, led workshops there that dealt with how to be creative and how to communicate well with people. And people in the Soviet Union, when he was doing these classes, he was amazed that they'd heard of him. He thought that was a far off place where his ideas about psychology would have never been considered, but he found that to be not the case. And he continued working in the United States. In the US, he lectured on personal growth, social change, economics, racism, self-realization, all major issues within the United States. Critics charged Carl Rogers with, hey, you're not a psychologist. This is political stuff that you're doing. And he agreed that his psychological approach even was political in nature, had to do with what's going on within your society and whether it's a free and open place or a closed and difficult place, whether it's a rich or poor place, etc. Rogers stated that winner takes all. That doesn't work. You got to have communication between all people. Dialogue's necessary, respect, empathy for each other. That's what's needed in any nation state and any human relationship. He became involved with the Central Intelligence Agency while working in the United States, known as the CIA. They had a human ecology fund, and that was research on personality that they were doing within that ecology fund. Well, they approached Rogers and wanted him to serve on their board, and he agreed. So now in his retirement, he's working for the CIA. The CIA wanted him to look into the life of Nikita Khrushchev, who was the head of the Russian state at the time. So he got lots of information that the CIA had collected on Nikita Khrushchev. Here's a picture of him. Interesting story. My wife had a friend, and we got invited to a party at her parents' house once. And her father was from Russia. And up through, when I went into the house, I saw he had a framed letter from Nikita Khrushchev. And I said, what's this about? And he said, he and I went to school together. We were in the same grade from first grade up through sixth grade. And then my parents came to the United States. So there was a guy that knew Nikita Khrushchev, personal story. Rogers commented on his involvement with the CIA, and this is a quote: "We were asked to figure out what we thought of him, Khrushchev, and what would be the best way of dealing with him." And that seemed to be an entirely principled and legitimate aspect, so he was willing to do it. I don't think we contributed very much, but anyway, we tried. So he said his employment with the CIA was really pretty worthless in trying to figure out information about Nikita Khrushchev. Carl Rogers' death, he fell, broke his hip, did a lot of damage in the hip area, had some surgery on it. His pancreas quit functioning. He had a heart attack. He died February 4th of 1987. Okay, now we're going to take a look at his psychological theories. First, introduction. He frequently wondered what to call his field of psychology. Some people called it Rogerian, but he was interested in humanistic psychology, maybe, client-centered therapy, or person-centered approach. It has tended to be referred to most commonly as humanistic or simply as Rogerian psychology. He was very research-oriented. He wanted to try to prove that his ideas were indeed scientific, that they did apply very well, based on research to the human population. So what is personality? It's about human relations and counseling. Psychology needs to be a science, Rogers thought. Rational investigation is required, and we'll take a look at that in a while. 19 propositions that Rogers wrote up about psychological theory, especially his school of psychology. They are very difficult to read. Lots of jargon within the Rogerian 19 principles. We're going to take a look at 2 as he wrote them. Then I went through and rewrote all 19 of them, putting them into what I consider to be understandable language. So first, let's take a look at number 15. Psychological maladjustment exists when the organism denies awareness of significant sensory and visceral experiences, which consequently are not symbolized and organized into the gestalt of the self structure. When this situation exists, there is a basic or potential psychological tension. Now we're going to take a look at number 19, and I'm going to read this to you. As the individual receives and accepts into his self-structure more of his organic experiences, he finds that he is replacing his present value system based extensively on introjections, which have been distortedly symbolized with the continuing organistic valuing system. So you can see he's using some terms here that are very much understood by psychologists, but not by the general public speaking. Also, notice how he regularly refers to subjects using the male image. He finds that he is replacing his present value system, etc. Okay, Rufta. Now let's take a look at my rewrites of them. Number 1, the world is a changing place. You're at the center of it. That's how we perceive ourselves. And it's changing all the time. How do we make sense out of that? And we'll talk about that later. Some people really get tied into something and refuse to bend at all. Other people are adjustable. Perception is reality. We common think of perception as that's a subjective thing. And science is objective. Reality is an objective thing. And Rogers says, no, perception is reality. Here are 2 people looking at the same thing and giving different answers, for instance. So how we perceive the world is indeed a reality, at least for us. Number 3, people react to their perceptions. They see something, draw a conclusion about it, and base reactions on those conclusions that they've drawn. Rogers stated it this way: the organism reacts as an organized whole to this phenomenal field. He's talking about perception. Number 4, your perceptions make up your concept of yourself. You have a self-image. You have self-esteem that's based on that image. You have an ideal self, what you should be like. This is just a continuing circle that we're all involved in. How we develop our self-concept. So perceptions make up what we think we are. Interactions with others forms the nature of selfhood. So people, interactions, being social, that's where you get a notion of selfhood from, is others. Number 6, the basic tendencies are to actualize the self and maintain experiences. You have certain things you like to do and you want to maintain that. Certain things you don't want to do. Those are experiences. And you want to actualize yourself. Hey, this really counts, what I'm thinking. Number 7, want to understand your behavior? Then check your own frames of reference. What are my beliefs? Well, I go to church regularly. I'm heavily associated religiously. I'm concerned about people that are not of my religion, for instance. Or in the graphic here, there is a person standing in a cart that is moving in this direction. And there's a person standing outside. Person inside thinks they're standing still. They're really not seeing the movement. The person outside is, wait, hold, I can't concentrate on you, hold still. So you check your own frames of reference. That's how we understand behavior. What's going on around me? Well, what is behavior? It's a goal-directed attempt to satisfy needs that we have experienced and perceived as our individual self. So I behave according to things I've experienced and what I think other people might want to see or see in me. It's what I perceive as an individual in others. Number 9, emotions are the energy to achieve goals. What kind of emotions? Any kind that the individual perceives for their desired result. It can be largely expressed through facial expressions. So emotions help us achieve goals. What are emotions? They're what we perceive to be a desired outcome. Number 10, values get attached to experiences. This is the way people should be behaving. What's wrong with that guy? I would never do anything like that. Well, what have you been taught? What's happened to you? Sometimes values are perceived in a distorted way. We see them the way we want to see them, not the way they are in reality. It's very subjective. And Rogers puts a lot of emphasis on that subjectivity. Number 11, experiences are interpreted in a variety of ways. Okay, something happens to us. What do we think of it? They're symbols. They become organized by the person experiencing them. We relate them to our own self-concept, reject some, accept others. Experiences can be ignored. We can say, I'm not good, but it's not going to happen again. They don't fit the image we have of ourselves. You might be looking at reality, but it's not your reality. And C, experiences can be denied. They're not part of the structure of the self. I'm going to pretend that never happened. I didn't see it. I won't talk to this person again, etc. Or it's the last time I spend in this class, for instance. Number 12, the behaviors accepted by an individual are those that are consistent with the concept of self. We've developed this concept of who we are. It might be vocational. It might be family-oriented. But whatever this concept of self is, I'm the father, I'm the mother, or other behaviors that we choose to emphasize become the accepted way for us to live. And oftentimes, how we think other people should be behaving also. Number 13, experiences result in behavior. We interact with other people that affects our behavior. I want to impress this person, so I'm going to pretend I like what they're saying, because, well, we'll see. I've said some things I like and some I don't. So experiences are behavior. Then behaviors become symbols in the life of the person. Behaviors and symbols can be in conflict. The individual then does not own the behavior. If the symbols you've set up for yourself are not things that you really like to be a part of, you're in a conflict. So that will have to be something you reject, probably. 14, how is psychological adjustment made? How do we make these adjustments? Experiences and symbols become consistent with the concept of self. We have this self-image. We're going to make things that happen to us, experiences, symbols that we see. They're going to have to fit this image I've got of myself. Number 15, what's maladjustment? What about a person that's not functioning properly? It is when an individual denies experiences. And I just can't believe what has happened here. And then we develop tension. And it's tension of a psychological nature. It's not something that is muscular or organic. 16, inconsistencies within the self are often perceived as threats. We have an image, then we see something and it doesn't fit that image. It's a threat. It's a difficulty. So these inconsistencies build up in an individual, and that individual becomes more and more rigid in their outlook toward others, toward the world, toward experiences that they are having. 17, an individual can often not see the threats confronting them. If something is a threat and I don't like it, I'm going to forget about it. I'm not going to pay any attention to it. I don't see the inconsistencies in these experiences. The idea of self, who are you as a person, becomes challenged by these inconsistencies. So we deny the inconsistency. Well, that just can't be happening. No, okay, forget about it. 18, when a person manages to accept inconsistencies and is able to integrate them, then they become more accepting of others. Well, that person's interesting, but I don't like this or this about him, but that's okay. I mean, he isn't me, and so on. And number 19, finally, concept of self is accepted by the individual. Values and experiences can then be adjusted. You need to know, here's who I am. Now, that's a value. Okay, I don't like it, or I'm going to change it a bit. And you adjust yourself to what's going on around you. Okay, those are the 19 basic concepts of Rogerian psychology. Personality development. Psychologists talk about stages of development. This was Freud, had many stages. Rogers talks about principles of development. How does it happen? It's not stages. Something that Freud says happens in childhood might happen in middle age to some people. It occurs in stages. And the major principle is you need a self-concept. Who are you? What do you think of yourself? What do you hear from others? Rogerian principle, Develop a self-concept. Move from being confused, move to fully functioning. That's a major term in Rogerian psychology, is a fully functioning individual. Basic concepts. Let's take a look at the self-concept. This is who am I? Who is me? How do I see myself? So what are my perceptions of relationships? Remember, Rogers thinks it's all about people and how they communicate with each other. What are the aspects of life? Do I have a lot of money? Do I not have enough money? Am I in a wheelchair? What are the aspects of your life? And how does that affect your self-concept? And then what values do you attach to these perceptions that you have about yourself and others? How do you make the adjustments? Positive regard. You gotta think positively in order to actualize the self, according to Carl Rogers. So, positive thinking. Negativity is something you need to get rid of, not adjust to. Basic concepts, conditions of worth. How do you feel like you are worthy? Child rearing. Were you raised properly? That can add to worthiness, but it can happen later in life also. Worthiness is taught to you by others. What do you see in the people around you as a child, as an adult, as an elderly adult, etc.? And here's mom talking to the kid. Kid's not looking at mom. Something's going on here. She's being talked to about being a worthy person, or worthy people do not do thus and such, etc. A fully functioning person. This is the good life. How do you get to it? How do you reach that full potential of being a fully functioning good life person? There are 7 guidelines for this, according to Carl Rogers. You got to be open to new stuff. Don't automatically become defensive about somebody because they've got a different religion, or they're too short a person, or they have a funny hairstyle, or they're trying to talk to 3 different people at once and keep looking all around. And okay, what does Rogers call this? Subception. That's avoiding trouble. And he says, don't do that. Don't be defensive. Don't, this subception, avoiding trouble, don't do it. That's a Rogerian concept. Live life fully. Don't distort your self-concept in order to try to fit into something. So you have a self-concept, know what it is, and live it out. This is part of number 2 still also, live life fully. Self-concept allows you to be, you can be an exciting person if you've got a self-concept that you've accepted, and you can be daring, adaptable, tolerant. You lack rigidity. You can see good in lots of things, and you're trustful. Live life fully. Be existential. Don't worry about what's happening tomorrow. Have fun now. Live in the moment, is what Rogers says. You can have plans for what you're going to do, but don't let it get in the way of what you're doing now. 3, choose appropriate behavior. He doesn't like codes. So watch out for things that are prescribed as being normal. No, you shouldn't do that. That's not normal. Discover your own right or wrong. And of course, a major portion of what we talk about every day are political rights and wrongs, religious rights and wrongs, all sorts of codes, social rights and wrongs. And so watch out for codes, according to Rogers. Set your own standards, but make sure they're of a positive nature. Freedom of choice. Don't place restrictions on yourself. Be open to moving into a new direction. Don't limit your choices. Be creative. Number 5 of 7. Creativity allows a better feeling of freedom. I'm an open person. I can do what I want, but I should feel like I am capable of that I can do that sort of thing. So adapt to the circumstances around you. Relieve the need to conform. You don't have to be like somebody else. You don't have to be like another group. You can be an individual, even though we are, by and large, social animals. Number 6, be constructive. What are your needs? What are the needs of others? These can be two very different things, but you can help other people by knowing what their needs are. And you can deal with yourself also by knowing what your own needs are and be open to people who have other needs. So you balance needs between yourself and others. Lead a full life, and the full life includes the following items. Be an exciting person. Feel joy and feel pain when things come along, injuries, grief, deaths, etc. Show love. Let people know that you care about them. But it's okay to show heartache too. Here are concerns that I have, and you hope in return people will show you love. Maintain a balance in your life. Opposites help. Think about opposites. I've generally told that to students who just, you hear something, think about what the opposite is, including anything I say in this class. So think about the opposite thing. Here's a review of a fully functioning person. You're open to new stuff. You want to live life fully, really enjoy it. Choose appropriate behaviors. That can vary from culture to culture, from group to group. You have freedom of choice, practice it. Be creative, do things that make you feel good. Be constructive and lead the full life. New stuff, live fully, make sure behaviors are appropriate for your surroundings. Make choices. You've got freedom. Be creative, be constructive, and lead a full life. Rogers on full functionality. This is not an easy task, he says. You have to be able to grow, to move, to advance. You got to recognize your potential. What am I capable of? And this can include things that you don't want to do. Basic concepts. Carl Rogers. This is an important word in Rogerian psychology. Incongruence. Societal values may conflict with the concept of self. Okay, we're talking about the individual, Rogers is, but you're part of a group. socialization is important. So make realization of the self difficult, or it makes it difficult. These conflicts of who I think I am and what society thinks I should be. Now, what do I do? Well, that can be a difficulty. It can be a conflict. And this is what Rogers calls incongruence. This is a lack of adjusting. I before E except after C. So what's the deal with societal? That's I before E and it comes after C. So there's some incongruence. There's the rule for the English language, and here's the exception. Psychopathology. Let's take a look at what Rogers says about that. Another term important in his field of Rogerian psychology. What can go wrong? That's pathology. What can cause difficulties? That's pathology, but it's pathology as is related to our psyche. So in comes incongruence. This is a life filled with falsehoods. People say things about themselves, and yet you see quite a different person. Hinders this incongruence, this life filled with difficulties and falsehoods. It keeps you from leading an authentic life. Incongruent people become defensive. Oh no, you can't tell me that. They're malfunctioning, don't know how to cooperate, for instance. They're not open to others. They're protective of their own self-image. And you say something about yourself and they go, oh no, that's a conflict with what I think I am. So they're feeling constantly threatened. This is incongruence. And it's a psychopathology. Incongruent people, they use defense mechanisms. Now, defense mechanisms are something that Freud came up with, but Carl Rogers has a couple here. Distortion. We redirect information we don't like. We're going to make something different out of it, or we're going to forget about it. That's distortion. We're distorting reality. Denial. I don't like what I just heard out of that person, or I don't like what I just saw, or I don't like what I just thought. And denial is where you reject these negative things, these incongruences. Threats mount against them. We become defensive, rigid. We can't compromise. We can't function properly because we do compromise. We become neurotic, we become psychotic. Neurosis is a minor mental disorder. Psychotic or psychosis is a major mental disorder. Therapeutic methods in Rogerian psychology. Rogers had trouble deciding on a name, as you're aware here. We talked about it for a bit earlier. He went through 3 name changes. He said, I think it should be called non-directive therapy, then client-centered therapy, then person-centered therapy. Procedures. Therapy procedures make a difference. In other words, how the therapist behaves. Here are 2 people sitting together. One's got their hand on the other. There's a therapist providing a role to the client. Here, 2 people sitting across from each other, One has their hands clasped and they're blocked by a desk. They're not, it's not open space between them. So therapy needs to center on the patient. You don't tell stories about yourself. Basic concepts, education. He has 6 major notions about education. He says this is really a super important thing in a person's life because we spend a lot of years in educational institutions. People can't teach each other. It's up to you. You need to facilitate your own learning. This is a big lesson that a lot of teachers could learn, according to Rogers. Student actions, they're more important than teacher actions. What are you doing in a learning situation when you're not the teacher? The best thing you can do, sit at round tables, such as we see here. There's no head of the table. Hence, authority moves towards the head of the table. So round tables are important and valuable in an educational setting, as opposed to being in straight rows and looking forward at the center of attention, the teacher. No sitting in rows in a classroom. This is what a classroom should look like, according to Rogers. People cannot teach each other. Primary focus on students is the self. It's brought into the classroom. Everybody reacts differently. So what do we do about it? Well, students sit there and they start hearing things and they go, how does this apply to me? Does it even apply to me? How am I affected by any of this? Is any of this of importance to me? So people can get turned off very easily. Whereas if they're part of the group, sitting in a circle at a round table and interacting, that's a better method than, hey, I'm the guy up front here telling you stuff. So what's this course about? Does it match my self-concept? That's a question people ask when they take classes. And this preconceived notions about stuff can be turned off, and that is a good thing to do. The teacher needs to encourage open-mindedness. Students will then accept new information. Oftentimes in classes that I taught, I would get comments from somebody would just shout out, boy, everybody's opinion counts in here. You know, that's the kind of classroom that you want to try to set up. Encourage open-mindedness, let everybody say something, etc. The self, it's rigid when threatened, relaxed when not threatened. So don't do threatening things. Now, this is going to become interesting in a bit here when we talk about some other concepts. At any rate, rigidity is when you're threatened. Relaxed is when you're not threatened. These can create barriers to learning. We force ideas upon people. We force attitudes. And this is frequently what we see in teaching. Open, friendly, and supportive are the necessary items in teaching. Not, here's an idea and this is the one you better believe. Not, here's the attitude that you need to have. Barriers to learning. Over 70% of all United States citizens say the purpose of education is discipline. It's got nothing to do with being open to other people, or it's got to do with sitting in a straight row, keeping your mouth shut, not making noise, whatever it might be. So that's an overwhelming concept about education that Rogers was very concerned about. And of course, we all remember the stories about teachers carrying a ruler, and a student would be doing something that the teacher didn't like. Hold your hand out, bang with the ruler. So promote learning and reduce threats. To promote learning, don't be threatening. And that's in large part what discipline is about. The instructor must be open to learning. Interaction with students is required. Walk around the room. Sit at tables with the groups. Be a mentor, not somebody who's telling them all the time what to do. I once had somebody complain to me that, hey, I walked past your classroom a couple hours ago. Everybody was laughing in there. What in the world's going on? What do you think you're doing? Rhetorical approach is best. This is item number 6. Rhetoric. Repeat what others say. A question is asked of you. You deal with the question, use a lot of the same words that were asked in the questions, and then put it into your own words. Find another way of saying it. That shows understanding to the person who asked the question. And teachers should not be dismissive. Oh no, that's a ridiculous question. Don't do that. That's the end of Carl Rogers. Now, for the next half hour or so, I'm going to do I'm going to start a different thing. And we're going to talk about sleep and dreams for the remainder of today. And next week, we'll finish it. So sleep and dreams, what's all that about? And a lot of denials about it, lots of accepting of it. Dream analysis is an old thing, frowned on by modern psychologists mostly. Stages of sleep, first thing we'll talk about. There are 5 stages of sleep. REM, which stands for rapid eye movement. And then the first 4 letters of the Greek alphabet, REM, and then alpha, beta, gamma, delta. This is the lightest sleep. This gets heavier. This is the heaviest sleep. Alpha, you're between consciousness and sleep. It's a light kind of sleep. Beta, your heart rate has slowed down. You're relaxing. Your brain slows down. You're really getting into a much deeper kind of sleep. Gamma, the body starts shutting down, really slows down considerably. Your temperature drops. You're not at 98.6 if you're ever at that, and your blood pressure drops considerably. This all aids in relaxation and sleeping. Rapid eye movement, we're going to talk about now. This is the lightest form of sleep. Excuse me. Your heart rate increases during rapid eye movement when you're just falling asleep. Your breathing rate is heavy. It increases over when you're awake even. Your blood pressure increases. Your temperature of your body increases. We get into the next 4 layers of sleep and all of that begins to reverse. You're nearly awake. It is during this phase of rapid eye movement, nearly being awake. This is when dreaming occurs. REM sleep, rapid eye movement. Here it shows eyes, here they're looking outward, here looking to the right, here, and etc. You know, at any rate, it's rapid eye movement. A lot of people thought this may be connected with what you're dreaming about. So they'd wake somebody up. What were you dreaming about? I was just climbing stairs. And their eyes were doing this, like when you climb stairs, you just keep pushing it up another step. Interesting. Stages of healthy sleep. Here's where you are awake all along here. And look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times during the night. You may not be aware that you're awake, but you come out of it and go right back down again often. Sometimes they'll last about 15 minutes of being awake. Here's the first stage of sleep, second stage, third, and fourth, the deepest sleep. And you go through a movement, back out of it, and into REM again. You're still sleeping. And see how here every couple of hours, except when you get closer to the morning, it's more like every hour and a half. You are in this REM period, the lightest sleep, where you are dreaming. Some people remember their dreams all the time. Other people, I never remember dreams, is what they'll tell you. So let's take a look at dreams. Methods of interpretation. This is frowned on by most psychologists, psychiatrists nowadays. There's 3 methods of dream interpretation. Symbolic, what's it mean? Cipher, what's it mean? Scientific, what's that mean? Let's take a look at each one. Symbolic dreams. You dream about something, but it means something else. This is rejected mostly by psychologists. Well, you dreamed about a footprint. Well, a footprint means you're really dreaming about getting away from something. You're moving away from another person or something. Symbolic dreams. Joseph from the Old Testament and his coat of many colors. He was his father's favorite son. Joseph had a dream. His father gave him a coat, and the sheep in the dream bowed down to him. They thought, boy, this coat is a big deal, and the sheep see me as the ruler. The next day, he told his brothers about this. They thought the sheep were symbolic of them bowing down. I've got this coat of many colors. I dreamed about sheep bowing down to me while I was wearing this coat. And the brothers are going, he wants us to bow down to him. To protect themselves, they get Joseph tied up among themselves, and they sell him into slavery in Egypt. And there's a famine in Egypt, and that becomes significant. Anyhow, there's a famine in Israel, I'm sorry. And Joseph is now in Egypt, and he's become an advisor to the Pharaoh. But this famine in Israel has caused his brothers to say, we got to get out of here. We got to go someplace where they've got decent crops. They walk southward out of Israel and into Egypt and discover their brother, who is a big deal, an advisor to the Pharaoh. And they have to bow down to the Pharaoh's advisors. And one of those people is their own brother, who they sold into slavery because they thought he was going to make them bow down to him, which they now have to do. 7 lean monsters devoured by 7 fat monsters. 7 years of famine, 7 years of feast is what that is about. You dream about lean monsters who don't have enough food, and they're devoured by fat monsters who do have enough food. And that's the biblical story of 7 years of famine, 7 years of feast. Cipher dreams. Cipher dreams are a code of some sort. They are a sign of something. And it means the same no matter what the dreamer is. Psychologists tend not to buy into this stuff either. The handbook of dream analysis pictured here, it's available on Amazon for just about $36. You can look up in here what you dream. I dreamed that I poked myself with a needle. Okay, you dreamed about a needle, so you look under the ends in this book and look under needle, and it tells you what dreaming about a needle means. Like it's the same for everybody, it means the same thing. You dream about a truck, look it up. Dream about the color black, you look it up in a cipher book. Scientific dreaming. One size fits all. Psychologists tend to reject, they tend to reject the cipher dreaming. Scientific, find what dream objects mean to an individual. Tell me about your dream. Oh, well, what does that mean to you? You're not looking it up as a code someplace or a cipher or done through talk therapy. You tell me what it means to you. This is a more scientific approach. Find out what the individual thinks it is about. This is Calvin Hall, leading advocate of scientific dream analysis. Reject symbolic and cipher dreaming. Content Analysis of Dreams is the book pictured here by Calvin Hall and Robert Van de Castle. And it's about how do you write down your dream? How do you remember it? What should you do? So, Meaning of Dreams, 1956 book. So see, this is a 60, 70-year-old book. There was a whole different approach to therapies compared to today. So dream content, let's talk about that, and we'll get back to some of this other stuff. The 3 most common kinds of dreams are the embarrassment dream of nakedness, dreaming about death, and dreaming about examinations. Let's take a look at each of these. The embarrassment dream of nakedness. In this common dream, people are improperly dressed. It's usually you. Generally occurs in a crowded room or outdoors someplace, a room you can't escape from, or outdoors where you can't go hide yourself, and yet you're in a naked or semi-naked situation. People in the room are not outraged. They're just standing around talking. You're concerned. What am I doing like this? What the heck is going on? So you're concerned about your own situation. Nobody else is. And you can't leave. It's like having your feet buried in concrete. You're stuck there. I can't get out of this situation where I'm doing something that is incredibly inappropriate in a public situation. I'm almost naked or am naked. Exhibitionism, being naked in public, practiced by men and women, but I'm not going to show a photo of it. So exhibitionism is things people do in public to be naked like. The embarrassment dream of nakedness. This is Lance Retzel. He was a big 1970s football star, and he was convicted of exhibitionism. He was going naked in public, or if not naked, at least showing his genitals in public. This is Anthony Weiner in 2017. He was convicted of exhibitionism, showing himself off in public, and he was a congressman. Embarrassment dream of nakedness. In childhood, children often shed clothing and run around in the house when they're old enough to be wearing clothes. All of a sudden, they'll take them off and run around like this with just diapers on, probably when you have company. 2, death as a dream. Usually it's about the death of a loved one. You feel grief or you don't feel grief, and that's part of the dream. Feeling grief. Most analysts don't deal with these kinds of dreams, but it is normal human behavior to feel grief, and it's a very common dream to have, especially about the death of a loved one. So you're feeling grief. It can show guilt by saying, oh, why did I ever say that to him? And what you said was, I wish my brother was dead. Then you dream about him being dead. You can show guilt by saying, I hate that aunt of mine. You don't wish her dead, but you said something very negative about her, and then you dream about her being dead. Not feeling grief. This can show a lack of concern about someone who's having difficulties or someone who has died, which is what commonly happens in dream. And you show anger at the dead person for something they had done to you when they were alive. A death of a loved one. My brother fell down a flight of steps, then stated I pushed him. So wasn't my fault, and I don't know. Oh, well. So it's how you're feeling about it. Then examination anxiety. This isn't just about educational tests. It's often about medical examinations also. And again, third common type of dream. Okay, it's an educational test. Everyone's been in school. We've all had tests, exams have been common. This was at a time when you were a child. You felt vulnerable. Everybody around you could do stuff. I mean, they knew more words than you did. They could talk better than you do. They could maybe stand longer or whatever. At any rate, a child is limited compared to the adults he sees around him. And then you got an adult laying a piece of paper in front of you with a bunch of questions on it, and it's going to determine something about you, like how good a student you are. So an educational test. Oftentimes in the dream, you're accused of cheating on the test or doing poorly on the test. So these examination dreams are fear dreams. They're about anxiety and about relieving anxiety. Okay, now let's talk about dream themes. The falling dream. People frequently wake up and just like this, and it's, oh man, I thought I was falling. A sensation of falling. The behaviorist school of psychology, which B.F. Skinner is was one of the leading voices, and it occurs soon after you go to bed. It's not a dream. It's really this relaxation process we talked about as you begin to fall asleep. And you get this sense, everything collapses, and you get the sense that you're falling. It's really a relaxation of your nervous system. Tensions build up during the day, and then all of a sudden you're starting to relax. You've laid down in bed, and bang, and then it happens suddenly, feels like you're falling. Freudian school, that was the behaviorist. Freudian school. From your childhood, remember Western movies? Freudian school. There's a guy with a rifle, shoots another guy, and the guy falls off the top of a saloon. So he's falling, falls to the ground, and it's super cool. You really like it in a movie, but then you dream about it. World War II movies. Somebody will get shot and fall off a cliff. Super cool watching people fall. Then you go to bed at night, and then it's not so super cool. All of a sudden, you feel like you're falling. Again, Freudian school. Ever been tossed up in the air when you were a kid by dad? Such as this young lady here. You fall back down and you're caught by your dad, and it's pleasurable. But frequently in dreams, it isn't pleasurable. Did you ever deliberately roll down a hill when you were a kid, like these two guys are doing? That is part of what makes for falling dreams, according to Freudians. So Freud was real big on pleasure, pleasure seeking, also big on childhood when we develop everything that we become as adults. And so it's where the origin of all of this stuff comes from, is in childhood. As adults, we dream about falling because it was a childhood pleasure. Freud says it's a sexual temptation. Recurring dream. Okay, we've talked about falling. That's a common dream theme. A recurring dream, where you get a dream over and over again. Having a dream multiple times. For some reason, you're reliving this experience, or you need to relive some experience that you've had in an awake period. You're not resolving the anxiety of it, so you dream about it. And it's just a persistent, ongoing conflict. It's frequently negative, but sometimes simply a positive feeling. I'm going to read this. Recurring dreams repeat themselves with little variation in story or theme. These dreams may be positive, but most often they are nightmarish in content. Research that's been done on dreams, people tell you about dreams that they've had. 90% of the time, dreams can be defined as nightmares. They're not something pleasurable. Not recurring dreams. What's the content? Recurring dreams. Cessation can indicate conflict resolution. So what's going on? Well, do we really know or not? You keep having the dream over and over again, it's because you're not resolving that crisis in your life. Recurring dreams occurs about 60% of males have recurring dreams or report that they do. 75% of females say, yes, I've had the same dream several times. Recurring dreams, here are main themes of them. You're under attack. You're failing an exam. That's a common recurring dream. You're being chased. You're losing control of a car. You're falling, or you're late for an appointment. I have a recurring dream that I'm getting ready to go to a class and lecture, and I can't find my lecture materials, and I'm looking all over, and I'm on a deadline. Oh no. Recurring dream. Many students dream of failing tests. So that age group, failure on a test is a common dream that repeats itself. Research has shown them, they ask people about their grades, and they find that if you dream about failing tests, you actually perform better on tests than people that don't have those dreams. Recurring dreams, if negative, they're associated oftentimes, or higher sense of well-being, even if they're negative. You wake up and you go, oh, well, yeah, okay. Recurring dreams, there's three themes. You're unable to speak. You can't get the words out. It just doesn't happen. Your teeth are falling out, such as in the graphic here, or your lips are glued shut and you can't speak. Unable to speak. Okay. What psychologists used to say about this is it's due to shyness. It's due to an inability to express yourself to other people, or it's having problems learning a new language, or just learning a new language, and you find yourself unable to speak. According to Carl Jung's theory, recurring dreams are vital for the integration of the psyche. So Jung was, again, old-time psychiatrist, psychologist. He thought you could interpret dreams. Now, here it's driving me crazy. I have this recurring dream about discovering a tax gimmick, and I wake up before it's revealed to me. So there's a negative outcome of a recurring dream that somebody wants to, I want resolution on this so I can cheat on my taxes. Dream themes, examples. I'm wondering, are there any questions yet, or can I keep going?
I think we could keep going for about 5 more minutes. We have just a
Yeah,
few questions.
okay, I'll check back. Dreams, dream themes, examples. Vietnam, wounded dreams. A lot of people involved in warfare. A lot of research was done on Vietnam veterans. And this is the order of the dream that they have. They're running through the jungle. They're chased by Viet Cong, and they have rifles with a bayonet fixed to it. And there's a hard rain falling. And you're with a buddy of yours, and you come to a muddy, steep embankment that you can't get down. And bayonets all of a sudden are thrust upon your pal who you're there with, and he's killed. And you're sliced across the abdomen, but you survive it, and the helicopter comes in and carries you to a hospital. So that's a common dream that was discussed with psychologists by Vietnam veterans, and that was the content of it. It's known as the Vietnam Wounded Dream, and it's a chase dream. Lots of fear in it. You cannot find stuff before a lecture. This is what happens to me. You get all set up, projector screen, all of that. Can't find a piece of equipment, wander the site endlessly. People want to talk to me. Hey, I don't have time to talk to you. I gotta find thus and such. Time's running out. You become a nervous wreck, and then you wake up. Cannot find stuff before a lecture. That is an examination dream. You need to perform, but you're going to fail without the right equipment. I had a brother who had dreams about monkeys when he was very young. A monkey would get in our house, and the monkey would find my brother would find hiding places for other members of the family. Then we wouldn't let him under the bed. And the dad was in a closet. He wouldn't let him in a closet. Here he'd been kind to everybody, finding them places to hide from the monkey, and yet he's left to be exposed to the monkey. That's a chase dream, and you're being chased by wild beasts. Here, some dreams are very narrow and closed spaces, and you're being chased. There's no way out. Everything's tall and narrow around you. You're closed in. No way out. How do I get away from this? Involvement in a burglary or a home invasion is a common dream. What psychologists say, dreams are attempts to reorganize your life. This is what they used to say when dream analysis was something done by many psychologists. Dreams deal with real situations, according to psychologists, and they are not fantasies. Dreams are realities. They're telling you something about yourself. So they're attempts to reorganize your life. They're about real situations. They're not fantasies. Declutter your life is a frequent. Where can I put all this crud? Straighten things out. What's this that we're looking at now? Odds are you said it's a circle. That's what most humans say, because we want completion. So how do we remember dreams? Check the time. Okay. Keep a pencil and a paper or a notebook at your bedside. Have it there so you're ready to write. Right-wing Christian student, when I told him about this, I said, you got to be ready to write. You got to write it down as soon as you wake up. I had a student shout out, that's automatic writing and it's of the devil. Number 2, when you wake up, don't move. Movement equals forget. So you try to remember a dream. Then once you've got some memories of that dream, then get that dream journal and that pencil and start writing. Sit up if you want. And that's a way to remember dreams. There are people who keep dream journals. I remember having a lot of people who were interested in poetry and writing poems, and they would keep dream journals. How are we doing now? Any keep going?
Yeah, let's take some time to answer a few questions.
Okay, let me quit this, and I need to turn on my captions. Okay, I'm ready.
All right. So we've got a few questions that we can answer in the next 10 minutes. The first question is, if perception is reality and perception or experiences can be ignored, does that mean we choose our own reality?
Yeah, well, yes. it's hard for me to understand that part of Carl Rogers also, but he says that fantasies are indeed realities because they become a part of what we make ourselves. So, yeah, according to Carl Rogers, you're making yourself into something by accepting it.
Yeah. Um, does an individual live with their entire life as one interpretation, or does that person change their life to follow other interpretations?
Uh, well, some do and some don't. Uh, a lot of psychologists would say, yes, that's our expectation. You know, do we do it? I don't know. I think we try to forget about stuff more than we try to make stuff. Um, uh,
Yeah, plenty of that.
End of comment.
This viewer is asking for maybe some more clarification on the symbols of behavior that you touched on.
Clarification. Oh, symbols of behavior. Um, well, that's thinking about ways you should behave. And some of the symbols, they can be religious symbols. You're walking along and you're carrying a symbol of being honest and you start emphasizing those symbols and they are constant reminders to you of how you should be behaving. I I'm not sure if that answers the question or not, but we have things in our lives that are political and religious and family, personal oriented things, and we make those things into realities. So symbols can make us who we are. That's
Sorry for the dog barking in the background, but we do have some more questions here.
okay.
Why has dream analysis fallen out of favor as a therapeutic technique?
Well, most psychologists want it all to be about science. They pretty much want the person telling you something and then you lead them in certain directions. And dreams are, uh, there's just so much of it that sounds fake. Like you can look up in a book what it means if you had a pie thrown in your face, what that means in your life, and it's the same for everybody. Um, so it's just the whole philosophical approach, like Freud, Adler, Jung, all these guys that came up with different methodologies, that is now seen as make believe, kind of. Same thing with dream analysis. Uh, it's now conversation time and building trust between yourself and your client. Um, I mean, back in the 60s when I was taking psychology classes and then teaching psychology, um, I would talk to people and they'd want to know about dreams and things like that. And that has just simply gone away. That philosophical aspect of psychology. And it's now a matter of do you have a disease? Do we have a drug that will offer some relief for you? Will talk therapy relieve you? Just tell me about it. Get it off your chest. And, it's not going to center on what the problem is, not on what dreams mean. So,
Yeah. And that kind of leads to these two questions that we have about specific theories of psychology that are most commonly followed now, or um, you know, therapy techniques that are in use today by psychologists and therapists. So let's see. This question is asking people without the ability to change their circumstances, um, for example, prisoners or slaves or people in poverty, how can they realign their self concepts with their reality or circumstances?
Well, frequently they can't. They can do it through therapy, but you dig a big enough hole of some sort. Prisoners have, uh, they have access to this kind of help, or at least in most states they do. Um, but slaves, of course, don't. Uh, and, it's there's self-directed therapy, it's called. But you have to know something about it, and you have to try to make sense out of what's happening to you. And I mean, that's what happens with lots of prisoners. It's what happened with lots of slaves. Lots of people never make it through any of that, and they just dive deeper into uh, neuro neuroses, psychoses, mental health problems.
Yeah. That is the end of the questions currently. So if you have any questions, feel free to
Uh,
put them in. Otherwise, we
yeah,
have one last session with JB next week.
yeah. And I'll finish this sleep and dreams category next week. And if I finish it before the end of class, I'll have some other things that I'll be able to talk about. And
And then
uh,
what is next term's
next term,
series?
I'm doing more psychologists. I think in the spring, I'm going to switch back to presidents, maybe do psychologists again in the 26, 27 year, but not one more quarter or something. But I think it might be nice to get back to presidents for spring quarter of 2026. But it's going to be more of the same here, uh, winter quarter.
All
And
right.
I'll begin with Sigmund Freud, and I think he'll take about 4 class periods because he's got lots of stuff.
Excellent.
Yeah, good.
Well,
Thanks.
that's all we have today. So we'll see everybody for the last session with JB on schools of psychology next week at the
Yes,
same
good.
time.
Thank you.
All right. Have a wonderful day, everyone.